everyone. Lieutenant Colonel retired Alan West, the chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. Why are we here today? We want to talk about some of the concerns, some of the insights, perspectives we have on this 87th legislative session. We're in the final month, and we know we got about 2, maybe 3 weeks before everything is pretty much shut down because we have to abide by the 140-day rule. One of the big things we know coming up next week is that if the bills have not moved out of committee, chances are by the timeline, those bills would have died. But before we get to the legislative session, one of the things I want to talk about as chairman of the Republican Party of Texas, and also as a black conservative, I am absolutely appalled. I am disgusted. I find it highly offensive. The remarks of the Lamar County Democrat Chairman, Gary O'Connor. I do understand that he has apologized, and we do appreciate that. But what I don't understand is how is it that the Lamar County Democrat Party, and also obviously the Texas Democrat Party, are not accepting his resignation. I'm sick and tired of the duplicitous hypocrisy. White supremacy and racism does not go one way. If you want to talk about the party whose history in the United States of America has always been rooted in systemic racism, I think we know who that party is. So I would hope that the Lamar County Democrat Party would reverse its decision and accept the resignation of their chairman, Mr. Gary O'Connor. And I hope that the chairman of the Texas Democrat Party will step forward and make sure that Mr. O'Connor resigns as well. Now, when we talk about the legislative session, some of the things that I do have concerns about, one of our legislators curtailed the executive overreach. And we still know that HB 3 is alive, and if I'm correct, it has been voted out of the committee and headed to the House floor. We do not want to see HB 3 signed into law. We want to make sure that we live in a constitutional republic, which means that orders, edicts, mandates, and decrees are not the way that we're supposed to be ruled over. We're supposed to be governed. So we do not support HB 3. Another thing that is concern to us is SB 29. SB 29 was killed in the House Committee of Public Education. One of the things that I came out and talked about back in November was I did not support having Democrats as chairman of some of these committees we have, especially in the House. The chairman of the Public Education Committee is a Democrat by the name of Representative. It passed in the Senate. SB 29 would have prevented gender dysphoric males from competing on competition fields, sports fields, with females. Title IX is very important. I think a lot of feminist organizations, I think a lot of women here supported Title IX. I have 2 daughters who play sports in high school. And I want to make sure that we continue to allow those opportunities to our young women to be able to compete fairly against other young women, and so that they can qualify for scholarships. I hope that SB 29, someone will come around and reintroduce that in the House so they can be voted out of committee. We have many bills, and later on Jill will talk about this, but many of our bills related to our legislative priorities have been held up in the State Affairs Committee by Representative Chris Paddock. We would like to see him pass those bills out of the committee and stop with this bottleneck. The last thing I want to bring up is I'm not one of those people that agree with creating new government agencies. And right now it seems that there's a $5.5 million new government agency called the Office of Health Equity. It is not the government's business to get into equity or equality. Amen. Texas and the United States of America is based upon equality of opportunity, not equality of outcomes. And I'm very fearful when we use the language of the progressive socialist left, what equity can come out to mean when it comes to our health care. So those are the points that I want to bring out, and I will turn it over to the senior representative that is here right now, and that is Representative Tinderholt.
Thank you, sir. Thank you guys for being here, and thank you, sir, for coming. That bill that he just talked about, the terminology tells you that it's a Marxist-type bill. They use the term equity in it, and you should be very concerned. It passed on 2nd reading yesterday, passed on 3rd reading today. I had an amendment to it to define the term gender, and so what the author did was remove the term gender and replaced it with women's health. We can call that a little bit of a victory, but that bill should have died. We're a supermajority Republican-held House, and we should have killed that bill, and it passed. The priorities, some of those priorities are not moving, and I would ask you to push the chairmen and chairwomen on the priorities that are not passing. I'll tell you some good things just happened within the last hour and a half or two in Texas. We did not get the abolition bill, but we did get the heartbeat bill. It passed today on second reading. It'll go to third reading tomorrow, and I believe in September timeframe, if the governor signs it before then, we will no longer have people murdering unborn children at the time that they can detect a heartbeat. Another huge priority that's going to be heard, I believe, tomorrow is election integrity, and it's huge. I'm not sure how many amendments we're going to see on that bill, but from the looks of what I've seen of both the Senate and the version, they're both very products. I'm excited to see which one, and it'll determine what kind of amendments we do to that bill. I think that we're going to see a really good product. I think also in the next 24 hours, we're going to see riots across the state where people are blocking highways, harming human beings, and destroying businesses. That'll be outlawed, and people will be punished for doing those things and ruining businesses and ruining livelihoods. I think the camping ban is going to probably be passed today or tomorrow. But the big problem is that we still have Republican priorities that are not moving in the House. We're trying our darndest in the House to do it, but we really count on what I call the lowest level of local control, and that's you, and that's the voters that are going to watch this video. Call your representative, call the chairman, call the chairwoman, push them to get the Republican priorities passed, because we're in the House. My colleague here and I, we're ready to pass them. We're ready to vote yes on every single Republican priority that's laid in front of me. You won't see a white vote, which is a president not voting, and you won't see a no vote from me on anything that even comes remotely close to a Republican Party priority in the state of Texas. Thank you guys for being here, and I'm going to pass it off to my colleague, Representative Brian Slayton.
It is great to be here with all of you today. And one touch-up thing we also have coming up in a little bit is the trigger bill. Certain things would happen and we could end abortion in Texas. So let's keep our fingers crossed on that. Republicans can hold the line and do the right thing on that bill. What I wanted to talk with you about is, I guess, probably a subject that I've probably been introduced to most of you by, is my amendments. And let me start with this. Everyone, you must believe in accountability. You have it all your life. As a child, you have accountability when your parents have been gone and you were supposed to clean the house. When that garage door opens, accountability begins. Whenever you're at work and your supervisor or boss have been off on vacation or conference, when they come home, the accountability begins. And when we get to Sunny Die, accountability begins on the Republicans and Texans that are elected to serve in this building. We've had control for almost 20 years, and it's a shame it takes us this long to do things. We have an issue, the gender modification of children. We have an issue that should not be an issue. Yeah. Electroshock therapy on children. Electroshock was invented as a torture. The Russians created it to torture their bad citizens that just didn't quite get communism. Psychotherapy picked that up and began using it as a therapy on adults and children. In 1993, the Democrats saw how horrible that was to do electroshock therapy on children, and they banned that on children 16 and under. And they deserve credit for that. And as electroshock therapy went away, and now it's been making a resurgence, it's not making a big splash in Texas because they stood up for children in 1993. So here we are today in 2021, and Republicans control every branch of this Capitol in the executive office. And if when we sine die, if children are still able to go through a permanent and barbaric practice of gender modification, shame on every one of us, including me. If we don't pass this bill to protect children, I hope I'm voted out of office. Just start over with brand new Republicans as far as I'm concerned. I'm not here to go after any one person. If we can't stand up for children, what are we good for? I just want to ask you all to continue to fight, continue to call, continue to unfortunately beg for people to do things that in their heart they know they wouldn't want happen to their own child or grandchild. Right. Thank you all for being here, and we have no choice but to stop this practice in Texas. And I'm proud to have all of you joining us. And I want to say a special thanks to Jeff Younger, who is an amazing dad. His fight he's put up for his son is for the record books. And I respect him so much for what he's done to get here to this where we began this practice. But it wouldn't happen if he didn't take a stand for his child. So I thank him for having the gut and just the godly love for his son he has. Thank y'all very much.
When I became the chairman of the Republican Party of Texas, one of the things to look at was who would head up the Priorities Committee. And I could be thankful for the efforts and tireless work of Jill Glover, what she has done in legislative priorities to the people so that we have this type of support and this type of demand.
Or other SRECs have